Ahead today on Race Day, the Winston Cup Series, ready to tackle one of the fastest short tracks anywhere. Will a Ford be able to cement victory? The IndyCars turn left for the first time this year. A major surprise is the quick qualifier on the pole at Phoenix today. And the NHRA back in Gainesville. High speeds, and so far, no rain. Well, good morning and welcome to the brand new look of Race Day here on TNN. I'm Rick Benjamin. We've got a lot to tell you about this morning, but first, our mission here, very simple. We're the cornerstone of TNN Motorsports, and our goal is to bring you the day's top stories, all the breaking racing news, plenty of inside analysis of each TNN Race Day. We'll guide you not only through our program day, but through the entire scope of big league motorsports on this broadcast. We've gotten unusual cooperation from the calendar. Our debut weekend is one of the busiest all season. Today, Winston Cup, IndyCar, and the focus of TNN's Motorsports afternoon, NHRA drag racing in Gainesville. We're glad you're buckled in with us today and glad to have you here, too. We begin with Winston Cup. So far, all the talk in 1995 has been about Ford versus Chevrolet. That battle with Pontiac so far pretty much a bit player. Chevy 5 for 5 in victory lane so far this year. After last Sunday's Trans-South event in Darlington, NASCAR impounded one of each brand, the winning Chevrolet of Sterling Marlin, the Ford of Derek Cope, Petty Pontiac of Bobby Hamilton. Now, it cost NASCAR more than $100,000 to test the three brands. The Chevrolet, there you see Marlin's car. They took the three cars to both the Ford in Georgia and the Chevrolet wind tunnels up in Michigan. There's the main and tail car of Derek Cope that went long. So far, NASCAR not saying much at all about these tests, but they are looking at the data. The sanctioning body says they'll use the information to make any future rules adjustments. With Bobby Hamilton in that Pontiac, he finished 9th last week. That was one of the cars that was taken in for testing last week. Now, Glenn Jarrett of TNN Motorsports will be following Winston Cup for us here on Race Day. Standing by live in Bristol just 90 minutes before the Food City 500. Glenn, what's the situation there today? What's the buzz in garage area this morning about the Ford versus Chevy battle?
Well, Rick, first of all, welcome to the TNN Motorsports crew. We're very glad to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Be able to work with you again.
You bet.
Things have been kind of mum around here. NASCAR has asked the teams not to make too many comments until they can digest all the information that's come out of the wind tunnel tests. So nobody's really saying a whole lot. They did issue a statement saying that the information would be gathered. They would make some decisions, but right now no rules changes are going to be in effect anytime soon. I have Gary Nelson, who is the Winston Cup director, standing by with me. And Gary, first of all, went to a lot of trouble and expense to go to the wind tunnel. What were you hoping to find?
Well, all we wanted to do was compare the three makes of cars that are currently running in NASCAR Winston Cup, the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and the Ford Thunderbird. Compare them aerodynamically to see where the differences were. There's a lot of guesswork, but each make of car basically has just done their test work on their own cars. So we did an independent test where we captured the cars when the race was over. We took them to the wind tunnel. We kept a 24-hour guard on them, each car, so nobody was able to get around them, and we actually did the wind tunnel testing exactly as the cars finished the race at Darlington, and it gave us some real valuable information.
Now, again, these were the cars that were run at Darlington, but also going to the wind tunnel, that kind of takes the drivers, the crew chiefs, and everything else out of the situation.
Well, there's always variables that are what we call intangible. They're just, you can't put your finger on a value to you know, what a difference in 5 horsepower does to a lap time, or what a difference in a few pounds of downforce does to a lap time. But directionally, we can tell when something's better, or when a car aerodynamically may have a better corner speed from downforce, or a better straightaway speed from a lower drag number. And those numbers aren't as simple to look at as you would think. We have a whole bunch of data that we're going over now.
Okay, well, as I said, they will make a decision based on all that information very soon. Gary, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll let you go back to your duties now.
All right, thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Gary. Good to have him with us today, too. Now, Ford is on the pole, first time all season long. Mark Martin sitting on the pole at the track in Bristol a little bit later on. We'll take another look at that starting order today. Now, the country's other major series, the IndyCars, at the Phoenix Mile this weekend for the third round of their new season, the first oval race of the year. This is what Indy drivers call a short oval, and a major surprise on the pole this afternoon after the first two races. Question is, where's Team Penske? Well, Emerson Fittipaldi qualifies second. Brian Herta grabs the pole at the Slick 5200 in Phoenix for the Chip Ganassi team. Now, so far, the Penske team has finished no better than 6th in the first two races. After an extensive early season test schedule, they are hoping things look up. And as you can see there, Emerson Fittipaldi will start second today. Heard of the big surprise on the pole. Nosing out Fittipaldi under the 20-second mark, 19.785. To sit on the pole at 181.9 miles an hour. The other big surprise, I guess you'd say, hurt his teammate Jimmy Vasser in the other Target Ganassi car. He qualifies 7th. Michael Andretti is still looking for his first points of the season in IndyCar. He qualified 5th. Rookie Gil de Ferran rounds out the top 10 for today's 200-miler at Phoenix. Of course, we'll have highlights for that coming up tonight. Just getting warmed up on race day. We'll take you back live to Bristol in a few moments.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. By Jiffy Lube. If it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube. By Speed Stick by Menon. Like you, it never quits.
Running Wide Open, 10 driving songs, 10 great performers, the one and only album of its kind. NASCAR, Running Wide Open. Available April 4th.
Back live on Race Day. Great to have you with us. I'm Rick Benjamin. Earlier, we showed you the quick qualifiers for today's IndyCar event in Phoenix. But in Phoenix yesterday, the Players Toyota Atlantic Championship Series opened up its 1995 title chase. A familiar face in victory lane, the two-time defending series champ David Empringham with the tight victory. Second, very close, Richie Hearn. Many see him as Empringham's chief challenger as David tries for his third straight title. The winner at Miami, Patrick Carpentier, third. Also yesterday, Canadian rookie Claude Bourbonnais claimed the pole for the Indy Lights event, which is going to be run this morning at Phoenix. Second fastest, Alfonso Giafone, also a rookie. Jeff Andretti back in Lights after a 5-year absence. He qualifies 9th. Again, the Lights later this morning. We'll tell you how they finished tonight on our PM edition. Well, folks up New England way are celebrating this weekend. The NASCAR Modified Tour ready to crank it up for the new season today. Up at Thompson, Connecticut, with series champ Wayne Anderson from Long Island back to defend his title. We'll show you now how the top qualifiers will start in the icebreaker later this afternoon. The champion in that series, if we can go back to the modifieds for a moment, Anderson will start no better than 12th. And if we can page back, I'll tell you at least that the modifieds stacked up this way. Tony Hirschman back in the modifieds gets the pole. Reggie Ruggiero, a lot of people's favorite up in New England, he goes 9th today. Now, the PM edition of Race Day will show you how that finish stacks up at Thompson. 3,000 miles to the west in Washington State last night, the Northwest Tour of NASCAR at South Sound Speedway in Tenino, Washington. And here's how they came to the checkered flag. Garrett Evans, the winner in the Bud 125. Derek's little brother Ernie takes 3rd. Ron Eaton was last week's winner. He finishes 5th. While we're on the subject of NASCAR and modified racing, New Jersey's Flemington Raceway, one of the most historic modified tracks in the country, its future could be in doubt. There are reports this week that the land on which that half-mile fairgrounds oval sits could be sold for, what else, a shopping mall. Now, the Flemington Fair Speedway will play host to the NASCAR Super Trucks a little later this season here on TNN. A land developer wants to build a mall on the site. Racing promoter Paul Kuhl tells us that he'd like to move the fairgrounds and the racetrack to another spot on that plot of land. Should the mall get built, we'll follow that story for you. Back to NASCAR. The Chevrolets have been smoking the Fords so far in Winston Cup this season, but the battle in the Busch Grand National Series has been much tighter. Ford grabbed the first 3 races before the Chevy teams caught fire, winning the next 3 in a row. For the tiebreaker, the series in Bristol, Tennessee, for the Goodies 250 yesterday. Race Day's Matt Yoakum has the report.
The world's fastest half mile was stop 7 on the BGN schedule. Defending race winner David Green picked up where he left off last April, leading the field. But the pole sitter's day would end by lap 21 after losing an oil pump belt. Mark Martin soon took over, and for 196 laps, all the field saw was Martin's rear bumper. The caution was applied 10 times during the event. On lap 86, Tim Fedewa and Jim Bounds started a 13-car melee, collecting Phil Parsons, Hermie Sadler, and Johnny Benson Jr. All would continue except Dirk Stevens in the 64. 12 laps later, Mike McLaughlin is bumped in turn 2. He tries to save it, but to no avail. Done for the day, but okay. Back up front, Martin still held the point, but racing on worn tires allowed Steve Grissom to make the move into first with 22 laps remaining. It wouldn't be Bristol without some drama. Less than 2 to go, Phil Parsons and Jim Bounds spin in turn 4, collecting Elton Sawyer. It sets up a race back to the flag, which is won by Steve Grissom, holding off Mark Martin to win his 3rd career BGN race. Chad Little finishes third. Sixth is Johnny Benson Jr. with Jason Keller rounding out the top 10. Let's look at the Speed Stick Fast Track point standings brought to you by Menon. Johnny Benson Jr. still holds the points lead with a 107-point advantage over Terry Labonte. Reporting for Race Day, I'm Matt Gokum.
Johnny Benson Jr. may be in line to win the Busch Gray National title, although there's a lot of racing yet to come. Thanks, Matt. Still to come, a lot of dirt track action to tell you about. USAC Sprints open their new year. We'll tell you who grabbed the checkers in the World of Outlaws in Oklahoma. Lead the sprint race roll in. Back live on TNN's Race Day. Great to have you with us. I'm Rick Benjamin. The World of Outlaws are flat out in their 1995 season now, running the Fairgrounds Dirt in Oklahoma City this past week. A familiar face makes it to victory lane. Show you some highlights here. The cars in their traditional four-wide parade lap getting set to do battle at Oklahoma City. If we can roll that, there we go. As the cars move down behind the safety car at the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds. On the green, Mark Kinzer leads from the pole in the car wrenched by his dad, Carl. Stevie Smith a close second. The Pennzoil car of Jack Haudenschild started third. He moved through lap traffic easily, running the low side to get to the front. When the dust had settled, Haud took the lead on the 19th lap as we see Dave Blaney's car move by there. Here's Haudenschild skating to victory. Only his second World of Outlaws win in 4 years. Blaney gets second. Stevie Smith grabs third at Oklahoma City. Now, as we take a look at the SCRA yesterday, Manzanita. That was Ron Schumann in victory lane with the Indy cars just down the road. Maybe the West Coast best wingless pilot with a win. Tempe Tornado, Leland McSpadden third. Mike Kirby rounds out the top 5. And the granddaddy of them all, the USAC Sprints in action last night. No wings here either, thank you. 30 rapid laps at Earl's Eldora Dirt Palace. The win to Kevin Doty from Milan, Illinois. Great area there. Dave Darland, Frankie Kerr in the top 5. Defending series champ Doug Kalita could do no better than 14th last night. Much more to come here on Race Day when we continue. Gainesville, Florida, the top fuel eliminations are underway. Steve Evans is there, and he'll update us live on the situation in Gainesville. And the field set for the Food City 500 in Bristol. We'll go back with Glenn Jarrett in a few moments. Welcome back to TNN Race Day. I'm Rick Benjamin. Good to have you with us today. Earlier, you saw this on NHRA Today. Drag racing's finest had to wait an extra 2 weeks because of the rain, but they're back in Gainesville for the Mac Tools Gator Nationals, and that's the subject of our Mopar Performance Update today. Let's head back to Florida. Steve Evans is there live. Steve, who are the hot performers so far?
Hey, thank you, Rick. It's a beautiful day. Round 1 in top fuel was just completed. This will be a little down and dirty, but Blaine Johnson defeated Connie Colettis at low elapsed time of the event, 4.73 seconds. Kenny Bernstein had mechanical problems. Eddie Hill put him away round 1. It was Michael Brotherton, a brilliant 4.77 over Tommy Johnson Jr. Scott Coletta defeated Ron Capps. It was Mike Dunn over Pat Dakin. Corey McLanathan with a beautiful, beautiful 4.79 over Jim Head. Joe Amato, a fire-filled 5.11 over Shelley Anderson. And Larry Dixon Jr. in the Snakes car, another 4.79 over Pat Austin. Now let's talk about, pardon me while I flip the page here.
Take your time.
I told you it could be down and dirty. Okay, we're doing a lot of TV today. In funny car qualifying, everybody's favorite John Force just ripped their throats out at 5.06, 301 miles an hour.
Wow.
Nobody is close. Al Hoffman, number 2 at 5.14. Cruz Bedegon, number 3 at 5.16. And then they're in the 5.20s or slower. All right, let's talk a little bit about, as he flipped his page, Pro Stock. Warren Johnson, absolutely, at 7 seconds flat. But Bill Glidden in the old 5-year-old Ford Probe number 2 at 7 seconds flat. Scott Jefferon at 7.05. You know, I find it a little interesting that the top 2 contenders in Pro Stock wear the same hat. Darrell Alderman on one side, Scott Jefferon on the other. Guys, when you're racing somebody for a Winston Championship, it'd be better if you didn't like the guy or he was in a rival make. This is intramural.
Oh, I think it just depends on how you look at it. You know, it makes it that much more enjoyable because we do get along so well. It makes for a pleasant atmosphere here at the Dodge Boys camp.
You told me, Darrell, you guys are pooling your prize money?
Yeah, that way, you know, if one of us goes out early, we can pull for the other one, you know, and you don't go home broke.
What about side bets?
Well, we always bet a little bit of cash money just to keep it interesting, but we can't afford much.
How much cash?
A quarter.
A quarter. Okay.
A couple of high rollers there. Steve, we understand there have been a couple of serious crashes in the qualifying rounds. Can you update us there?
Yeah, an alcohol dragster crashed yesterday. Eldon Slick from Tucson, Arizona. It was a nasty one. He left here unconscious in a helicopter. He is being released from the hospital this afternoon with a sutured-up hand. And we had a pretty nasty crash. Norm Wilding, an Englishman in a funny car, hit the wall 3 times, 2 on the left, 1 on the right. He is in the hospital currently in intensive care, but they are very hopeful. As far as the rest of the day, I think we'll see 6-second pro stock times. I think we'll see maybe the quickest elapsed time in history in Top Fuel. They're already at 4:72, 4:73. All in all, if you're not here, shame on you.
We'll be with you throughout the afternoon. Thanks, Steve Evans at TNN Motorsports, live in Gainesville for us. And you saw the video there of that top alcohol dragster crash, the driver out of the hospital already. Earlier, we checked in Bristol. Glenn Jarrett bringing us up to date on the Ford-Chevy battle, where the Winston Cup stars less than 90 minutes away from the green flag in the Food City 500. Let's check in with Glenn one more time and find out what's going on in Bristol. Glenn, the second major driver change of the year this weekend.
Yes, very unexpected. In fact, the 26 team of Kenny Bernstein had called Hutch Strickland, who didn't have a ride, and asked him to come along and act as a consultant and help them set up the car for Steve Kinzer. Steve been having some problems getting adapted to the Winston Cup cars, and lo and behold, when Hutch got to the racetrack, he was contacted by the members of the 27 car that Loy Allen was driving. They came over and asked Loy if he would drive their car from there on. Loy had been released, so he attempted to qualify the number 27 car. Unfortunately, neither the 26 nor the 27 cars made the field, but looks like that Hutch Strickland is in and Loy Allen is out, at least for right now.
Yeah, the report Friday was that Loy had resigned from the ride and that Mike Hill had said that he just needed some more seat time to get comfortable at a Winston Cup car. Let's take a look at qualifying. The 4 drivers at least can crow about 1 pole position so far this year. Glenn, how did it go as the cars qualified? Here's Jeff Gordon.
Well, Jeff Gordon had a very exciting qualifying run. He almost crashed the first lap, then came back and nearly beat Mark Martin for the pole. Had a tremendous run, almost picked up his 3rd pole of the year. But Martin came back to take the pole position, as you said, his 1st of the year.
Any other notables who didn't make the show today?
I would have liked to have, but at the same time, you know, we had a good shot at the pole, and the Valvoline Cummins team deserves a pole. I tried to give them one today, so I had enough car to do it.
Thoughts of Mark Martin there as he reacted following his pole run, first Ford pole of the year. Any other notables who didn't make the starting lineup today?
Not really that I have seen, Rick. The biggest thing is there are a tremendous number of good cars that are having to pit on the backstretch. Now, that used to be something that they were all really concerned about. They thought you can't win from the backstretch. Yesterday, Steve Grissom proved them wrong in the Busch Grand National race. But you've got guys like Dale Jarrett, Sterling Marling, just a host of really good cars. Terry Labonte on the backstretch. They all say they can win from there.
All right, we'll watch and see what happens. Thanks, Glenn Jarrett, for us live in Bristol, and we'll talk to Glenn a bit later on today here on TNN Motorsports. More to come. Ernie Irvan buckling back in a few days ago, this time in his own super truck ride. We'll check Ernie's latest test session and the latest flap in Formula One.
Going to break music.
Welcome back to Race Day on TNN. Rick Benjamin here for you today. A couple of weeks ago in Darlington, Ernie Irvan began his on-track rehabilitation by getting behind the wheel of his own Busch Grand National car. This week, Ernie buckled up again for another test, this time on a short track in his own super truck. It was last Monday. Ernie took his Coca-Cola super truck up to North Wilkesboro Motor Speedway. Did some last-minute tuning on the truck as well, under the hood there, as he likes to do, putting that Coca-Cola Ford through its paces yesterday. He's getting more seat time now in his bid to return to racing. That's the truck that Joe Ruttman drives in the series. Afterwards, Ernie told Race Day that the test session went very, very well. He was very pleased with how the truck ran and how he performed. Still not willing to set a definite date, though, for his return to competition. We will certainly keep you posted on all of that here on Race Day. In Formula One, you know, controversy and politics go hand in hand with the on-track action. Before last week's season opener in Brazil, F1 teams sent in fuel samples. Sunday morning, after the warm-up period, the fuel from Michael Schumacher's Benetton and Damon Hill's Williams both were found not to match the preseason fuel samples the teams had provided. Each driver fined $30,000. They were allowed to keep their front row qualifying spots, but those teams had only one batch of fuel, so they were forced to race with the improper stuff in the tanks. Now, for Hill, the controversy became moot when a transmission failure and subsequent spin ended his afternoon. With Hill out, Schumacher led David Coulthard to the checkered flag as we watch Hill flicker across the grass. On the podium, which we'll see here in a moment as the checkered flag waves, Gerhard Berger, who came across third. He raised the third-place trophy. There he is on the right. But as is so often the case in F1, behind the scenes, plenty of drama playing itself out. Schumacher sprayed the champagne, but officials were spraying fuel around, testing it again. They ruled it was still illegal, so they disqualified Schumacher and Coulthard. That gave the third-place finisher Berger the win, at least at this point. Now, fuel manufacturer Elf tells us the test procedure is flawed. The two teams that were to have finished 1 and 2, that did finish 1 and 2 on the track, are appealing the ruling at an April 13th hearing in Paris. Insiders hinting of FIA manipulation again to perhaps try and tighten up the F1 field. We'll keep you posted on that as well. Now, elsewhere, we want to show you some other material here this day on race day. It's like a page out of the Jungle Book, really. If you like to go off-roading, Little American Gladiators may be mixed in with Jungle Book. Off-road extremists are now in the bush of Central America. They're taking the trip of a lifetime as they get set to run for the Camel Trophy later this year. Matt Yoakum has our story.
It's one of the toughest tests of man and machine. This May, teams from around the world will spend 20 days and nights driving over 1,000 miles of jungle trails in Central America, all in a quest for adventure and personal achievement. It's known as the Camel Trophy Adventure. Recently, in Grand Junction, Colorado, the U.S. field of 12 candidates were narrowed down to 4 finalists through a series of trials. Physical endurance was tested by running and rope crawls, while driving ability was measured by elapsed time on a slalom course, with clutch and throttle control evaluated by the use of a teeter-totter. The 95 U.S. trials were special for Daphne Green, as she became the first woman to advance to Team USA's Final Four.
In this particular time right now where we see America's cubed and we see that women are able to bring more to an event such as this than just brute strength.
The USA's No Fear Cavaliers will travel to Turkey for the international trials April 3rd and 4th in hopes of picking up America's second Camel Trophy. Reporting for Race Day, I'm Matt Yoakum.
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll keep you posted on the Camel Trophy. That's all.